I probably shouldn't be saying this, but will you ever stop making YouTube videos? Are you married or do you have a girlfriend? How do brands send you free gear? Are you switching to Sony? There are some questions that I've been avoiding, so I think it's time that I finally answer them and answer some of the questions that you submitted for this 500,000 subscriber Q&A plus a giveaway. In 3 years, I went from 5,000 to 500,000 subscribers here on YouTube, which is not supposed to happen because there are already so many talented YouTubers, creators, filmmakers, and photographers. And so I'm gonna bring some of my friends on who you may have seen in some of my past video to help answer some of the questions that you've asked. But I am gonna share the truth behind how I got to this point, answer some of your questions, and do that giveaway. But there are 3 pieces of information that you will need to enter that giveaway, so make sure you keep watching through the rest of the video. A lot of you wanted to know about me, and one of the questions that came up over and over was, how long have you been a photographer, content creator, or YouTuber? Most people don't know this, but I've actually been doing photography since high school. So over 15 years at this point. Some of you wanted to know what was my first camera. It was actually a Canon Rebel T1i. So you can figure out what year that was released and do some of the math. But here on YouTube, I've been doing this full time for 3 years. And I actually documented the process leading up to that point, leading up to me quitting my previous job. A lot of you are familiar with the fact that I used to be a full-time licensed architect. I have my undergrad degree, I have my master's degree, I had my license, and I gave that up to do this, which might come as a surprise, but that is part of the process that I documented in that kind of like goodbye architecture, hello YouTube video. I'll link that one at the end of this one. Some of you wanted to know, will you ever stop making YouTube videos and go back to architecture? If you've been following along, you know that I just recently came into this new space, this new studio space, and I actually designed and built this all myself. Other than the flooring was installed by someone else, but I will be doing a walkthrough of this space. I know a lot of you are wondering, when is the studio tour coming? I wanna see like all the bits and pieces. It's still kind of messy from me moving everything, but that will be coming. So I don't think I'm giving up the architecture side of my brain. It's kind of like in there, and a lot of what I learned when I was at school still applies to what I do. Or, you know, reading contracts at work, doing negotiations, communication skills. And part of me getting to this point, which I documented in that video of me quitting my job, was the fact that working from home through COVID allowed me to do this, allowed me to post more content, post photos, create TikToks and shorts and YouTube videos on the side. But to kind of circle back to the, you know, are you a photographer question, I never worked full-time as a photographer. In my transition from being an architect to doing what I do now, I did a lot of photography work. I did wedding gigs. I did basically anything anyone would hire me for in order to like cover the costs of me getting to the point that I'm at now. So I do some stuff on the side that's paid photography work, but none of that ends up making its way to YouTube. So Taha, you know how this works, right?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
You have to pick a question from the Q&A that everyone at home was asking. What do you think about that run this morning?
It was great. Very
5K
healthy.
run?
It's very easy.
Healthy, puppies.
Easy, 5K easy. Let me put this GFX right here.
Dang planes.
If you were stuck in Antarctica for 2 years, what camera accessories would you bring?
Okay, so I'm assuming this means I can't change out any of my cameras or my lenses. Like, what would I bring if I was stuck in a remote location? I think we'll exclude all like the random small accessories like batteries, ND filters, obviously. Camera lens wise, 15 to 35 that we're on now, and 70 to 200 if I could only bring 2. If I could bring a third one, maybe some sort of like prime lens. But it's also cold, so how am I supposed to navigate the cold? Like, do I need cold accessories? Like what?
I'm not sure how your camera accessories are going to help you survive, like how your lenses are going to help you survive.
Oh, do you think people meant like survival accessories?
I don't know. I would have said like Allen key, just like break ice or something.
Like a sleeping bag.
Maybe.
Like warm layers in a tent.
I don't know, some sort of rope strap so I can use the rope to tie things together, you know?
Okay, so I'm bringing 500 feet of 550 paracord.
my utility knife, a fire starter,
and a telephoto to hit people with.
a water filter, a telephoto to hit people with. Yeah, because there's nobody there.
Oh,
I mean,
a tripod would be great.
the problem with Antarctica, a tripod,
To break stuff and
well, we need to bring back the survival pod with like the indestructible, has the multi-tool in it.
Oh, that's a
has an
great-
Allen key.
that's a great tripod.
Has like a fire starter.
fire starter inside the tripod, and that goes on a plane. Yeah, sure.
So if you could only be in Antarctica and you had to keep the gear with you,
All
what
right,
would you?
We're talking actual like photography gear.
Yeah, photography gear.
So X106, that counts as one accessory, kind of. X106 to document all my misery. Like a multi-tool, maybe cut stuff and figure things out.
But again, if you had the survival pod, you just bring the survival pod.
That's
it
the
has
thing.
the multi-tool built
That is
in.
the thing.
It's hard.
It's very difficult.
Lots of batteries, a power source, a solar panel.
a solar charger, 100%.
Yo, Anchor, hit us up. I know they make
is there
solar.
an electric fire starter?
Honestly, flint and steel, because that will last you the whole year. But this
What
is
are
like
you playing Minecraft? Flint and steel.
All right.
What a weird question.
enough of that question.
Let's yeah.
I'm done with that question. Oh my gosh, the bench.
Oh, cook me.
Oh, the bench is like totally busted.
Oh my god, I think
Why is this bench actually?
Yo, that hurts so bad.
Hold up. Look at this. There are no screws in this bench. What the heck? Bro literally got cooked.
So I've gotten comments on some of my videos just depending on the time of the year, but like up here and on the sides, you might notice I get some like redness, and I've had people ask, do you have like a wig on? Is that like a hair transplant? And it's actually my skin condition, which is psoriasis. So since the age of, I think like 11 or 12, I've always had it. Sometimes it's worse, sometimes it's not. You know, I have like a little bit on my arm right now, which usually isn't there. Depending on the season, if I'm out in the sun more, it tends to go away. Depending on the food that I eat. So lately I've been trying a gluten-free, slightly dairy-free, low sugar diet, and all those things do tend to help, but it's autoimmune disorder in the same strain as like celiac disease and Crohn's disease. It's not something that you can cure, and sometimes it does make content a little bit difficult if, you know, it starts to pop up, because then I get questions about it. But it is something that I'm dealing with, and hopefully one day I'll figure out a way to fully get rid of it. So no, I don't wear a wig and I don't have a hair transplant. This is my natural hair. When are you visiting blank? So lately I've been able to travel with a lot of brands to cover camera releases. None of that stuff is paid for. When a brand invites you out, usually they'll cover your airfare and your hotel and maybe some of your food, but that's not always how it works. They're not paying me anything in pocket. You know, like recently I went to Czech Republic, Fujifilm let me use the GFX 100 RF early, or you know, like Fujifilm Canada sometimes will send me loaners for like a couple weeks at a time. This is the new XE5, which I've been using, but they don't pay me. They just say, here's the gear, make whatever you want with it. There's no contract involved. And I know that's kind of like a point of contention with like content creation these days. I'll talk a little bit about that later on in the video. Are you going to Sony Kondo again? Wait, I went to Sony Kondo?
All right, Taha, pick another question.
What is your all-time favorite photo?
Ooh. The problem is I have so many. I think there are a lot of photos that I've taken, like of you guys, like friends, like out doing something.
I want to say that I have two that I really, really like. One is in Qatar, because I worked really hard on that shoot and I put in all the effort. So when you see your effort actually translate, it's really like worth it. And one, I want to say that we took in LA at the Santa Monica Pier. I don't know, I've always wanted to go to LA, and being so far like in the Middle East, I feel like LA is like at the end of the other, like at the other end of the world.
There was one on the Hasselblad that I can't remember if you took it or Ishkan took it. It may have been like a 90 mil or a 50 mil shot with the birds in the background.
Yes.
I really like that one, and I haven't even posted it on Instagram yet, or I did as a reel, not as a standalone. So put that photo in right now. Getting through a busy portion of the street. We're supposed to be meeting up with Ishkan actually. I think we might need to text him here.
Okay, now for some rapid fire questions. Do you use back button focus? Almost never. Is there a camera that you'd recommend for under $500? Honestly, no. Use your smartphone. Why do you have an Android, a Google Pixel, and not an iPhone? So I've been using Android, Google Pixel, Nexus, and some like OnePlus devices for forever. I've never owned an iPhone. If Apple wants to send me one, I would happily use it to create content, or if Samsung wants to send me their S25, whatever comes out next. I hear some of the log video features on that are good. I'd love to compare more smartphones to more cameras, because for that under $500 category, like under $1,000, I think iPhones, smartphones, and Google Pixel, whatever, are some of the best cameras that you can get. Will you try more Sony cameras? I'll try whatever brands are willing to loan me. Sony is willing to loan me stuff. I think Nikon has tried to loan me stuff, and I just haven't pulled the trigger yet. What camera do you use? So all the links for anything that I'm currently using are down in the description. Also, if you're looking for camera recommendations for different budgets, maybe you're a beginner and you want something that's entry level, or you want something that's like mid-tier, I do have lists of all the latest camera gear that I recommend. Can you make a video on wildlife photography? Check out last week's video. What do you think about the PowerShot V1? Potentially the most underrated camera of 2025. Also did a video on that, which maybe I'll link at the end of this video. Do you have a course? Not yet. When are all your presets or digital products going to be on sale? So my latest set of Lightroom presets is a little bit more expensive, and that's because it includes a whole bunch of tutorial, how to install, troubleshooting videos, whereas the first set of presets didn't come with that. So instead of just selling you a set of presets, I wanted to make sure that you got the most out of them. So my Division 2 presets, which are on my website, sometimes I will run discounts. Like if you sign up for my newsletter, I think there's one embedded inside of that, but they are a little bit more on the expensive side. So as part of this video, one of the things that you need is actually this code right here. So I'll put it on screen, memorize it, or write it down, because you're gonna need to save that for later on in the video.
Habibi.
What just flew in my lap?
What the heck?
Hello, sir.
We were just talking about you. We were wondering what your favorite photo that you've ever shot is.
Honestly, I got one.
I feel like Ishkan's gonna have a better photo just because like 90% of your Instagram feed is all like film. I just mentioned the Hasselblad, but like bro has the Hasselblad.
I found it. This is it.
This is it
right here.
We'll put it on screen right now.
Yep. So this is from the Banff Gondola, and it's shot out the window.
As you're going up the gondola.
As we're going up the gondola, up to Mount Ruddle.
Solid place to take photos. If you're ever in Banff, pay the money, ride the gondola, do it at sunset, because you also get a really nice shot looking down Banff Avenue.
Kodak film, Hasselblad combo. Can't go wrong. Look at beautiful sunshine. Honestly, everything was perfect about this photo. You can't make it up.
How many unfinished projects are sitting on your hard drive right now? Honestly, there are probably about like 6. There are some unfinished projects that I'll just never get back to, that I just decided, were too old to revisit, and some of the information was outdated. What is something that you struggle with the most? All of this is gonna go back to creating content, because I spend the most time filming, editing, posting, and one of the challenges is that if something new comes out, like a new camera, or maybe I film a vlog and I want to get it out first, some of that old content that I may be like halfway done editing, I'll just put on the back burner. And right now I have like 1,500 videos on my channel between shorts and long form, and so that is a lot of content, all of which, other than 3 videos, I've edited myself. And so I'm trying to sort out, maybe I do need to get an editor, and I've experimented a little bit, but I haven't found anyone that I'm super happy with. And when you get to the point of having 500,000 subscribers, that is one of the big things that you need to figure out. Like, am I just gonna do this all by myself? Am I gonna be a solopreneur and, maybe not put out as many videos, but then have control? Or am I going to explode into a larger channel with more video content that, maybe I have to rely on other people to help edit, to help manage, to help do all these other things? Which ties into the next question of, what is one of the best things about your job? For me, it is the fact that as a single entrepreneur, solopreneur, creator, I have control over all those little things. I can decide when it is that I'm working, what my schedule is like. Mind you, if something is time sensitive, I do need to get it out, and there are times when deadlines become really important, especially when you're working with another brand. Which was a question that you also asked of, how do you make money? And for YouTubers, it varies. AdSense, affiliate links. So if you click on any of the links down in the description, whether it's like an Amazon or a B&H or an art list, anytime you make a purchasing decision, I'll get like a small percentage of that sale. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It's just a way of Amazon or B&H saying, hey, thanks, Anthony, for recommending this camera to your audience. You know, here's a little bit of a kickback. Or if you purchase my Lightroom presets, that's basically 100% profit that goes to me and helping me create more video content, which again is something that I'm kind of like, okay, do I need to hire someone to help make more video edits so that I can post more content, that I can maybe get more sponsors? It's a fine line between having every video sponsored where you only make content when it's sponsored, which, you know, some channels, unfortunately, that's all they do, versus like me, I'll have one sponsorship a month. Are you married or do you have a girlfriend? I had a conversation with a brand recently who said something about like, oh, you're like your wife. And I was like, hold on, do I give off the impression that I'm married? Like, do people think I'm married? What? Wherever she is, I have no idea, but no, I am not married and I do not have a girlfriend. Maybe one day, but as of now, there is nobody. When I was in New York City at Build, I had a lot of you come up to me and ask this question, which was, are you switching to Sony?
Now you need to pick a new Q&A for the Q&A.
So we're gonna talk about if you had to switch brands, what would you switch to?
If I had to switch, I recently did a video on the Sony A1 Mark II. And I think it's the closest equivalent to the R5 Mark II, which we're filming on now. But if I had to switch to Sony, I think either the A1 Mark II or the A7 R5.
Ooh, good choices.
But I mean, if I was just doing photos and just doing landscapes, Fujifilm GFX, I don't know, maybe.
So I currently shoot with Nikon for all my digital work. And if I had to switch, I've been tempted to switch to the Leica SL system or the digital M system.
L-mount Alliance.
Yeah, I do really like the digital M's for, number one, their compactness. Beautiful sensors, but their compactness and their lens selection. I'm shooting a lot more 35mm film on my Leica M6 and I'm loving the lenses. That's like a big thing for me right now, is going a little more compact, but a little more for my commercial work. I'm very interested in the Leica SL system with all the L-mount lenses.
Interchangeable lenses, and it means if you have all the lenses, you can also use the Lumix camera.
That's true.
So if you wanted to, say, maybe do more video, a lot of like the S5 2X, for example, is a really good value camera.
True.
Good choice with the Lumix. I'm giving you a high five.
Yeah. And you can use the Sigma, the new contemporary lenses, which are really, really beautiful. So like partly aesthetic choices too, because that is very important in my opinion. Gotta look good sometimes.
What do you think of the Sigma BF?
Ooh, I got a chance to play with it in New York.
Did you? I haven't even had a chance to play with it.
I stumbled upon a exclusive like event for like the launch with the president of Sigma there of North America.
The funny thing about Ishkan is that he will always bump into somebody famous. When we were in Las Vegas, you jumped into David Copperfield. After we saw his show and went backstage, you literally met him the next day.
Yeah, the next day again.
And we were just in New York, you went to MoMA, and who came off the elevator?
Oh yeah, Kevin Hart was there. Yeah.
And Ishkan will just pretend like he knows him and just start talking to him.
Even John Lennon's son followed him.
Are you joking?
No.
Oh yeah.
Another question that you asked was, how much time do you spend making content? The answer is kind of like all my time, again, because I don't have kids or a wife or anyone else that I'm dependent on or is dependent on me. I can basically just combine my free time and my work time into one where I'm always kind of working, which is not the greatest thing. And lately I've been trying to make that separation of, okay, you know, now I'm done working for the day, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna relax. And even when I do things like go on vacation, I aim to create as much content as possible. They're not really vacations, it's kind of like working and I get to do that in a unique location. Like when I was in New York for Build a couple weeks ago, I think I made 26 Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts over the course of like 5 days. All of those pieces of content are like one takes aside from like, I think 2 of them, which I had to retake because, you know, whatever, you mess it up. But I don't think about it. Like, I don't think about creating engagement bait or rage bait or clickbait. I literally just go, okay, like, this is the camera I have with me. What's something that's interesting? Oh, like this film simulation dial. Let me talk about it, or let me talk about the lens that I'm using, or the ND filter, or whatever it is that's just relevant to the photo that I happen to be capturing. And I think that's one of the best ways to start content creation. Don't overthink it. Post it, see how it performs, and then make adjustments and make a new piece of content. Was there a specific point that your channel took off? One of the first videos on YouTube that did really well for me was a Lightroom editing tutorial. Over on Instagram, I had a reel, I think that was titled, "Why do photographers edit their photos?" Do you have advice for someone starting out on YouTube? Same thing that I just said. It's like, try 30 pieces of content, don't overthink it, post it, see what does well, and don't quit your day job. If you go back to that video where I talked about me quitting my architecture job and doing this full time, there's like the full range of advice that I have for someone getting started. I'd highly recommend watching that video. I'll link it at the end of this one. Someone came up to me recently and asked this question in person. It was, should I stop being a photographer and be an influencer instead? And the reason he gave to me was, well, I see influencers having fun and they seem to get sent a lot of cameras and be making a lot of money. And that is the wrong reason to stop doing whatever it is you're doing, whether it's your day job or it's photography, and start doing content creation or YouTube or influencing, if you want to call it that. And it's not that you shouldn't do it. It's just, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, for doing it for money or for views or for free gear, you're gonna end up burning out. You're gonna end up not liking it. When I started this, I was doing this for fun. I had no intention of doing this full time. I just thought, you know, I'm gonna make a video that helps people in a way that, you know, this thing has helped me. Posted that video, didn't think about it. You know, several months later, it happened to do good. And I thought, oh, well, if people like that, I've got more where that came from. And so creating from like a position of like abundance, where you are already knowledgeable about something, rather than like, I know nothing about photography and I'm gonna teach people on YouTube. That is the wrong approach to have. Or if you try to offer like business photography advice, but you've never run a successful photography business, it's not gonna work. Is YouTube too saturated? I'll give the same answer that I've given to this question previously, but it's, if you're using that question as your reason to not start, then you are just giving yourself an excuse to not start. Everything is saturated. But if you can figure out a unique angle, or you have a unique approach, or you combined your personality with the thing, with the type of YouTubing, influencing, content creation that you wanna do, then you're gonna be unique and you're gonna stand out in a space that is unfortunately saturated. 10 years ago was the best time to start, but the second best time to start, as they say, is right now. So do it if you want, but if you're trying to find an excuse to not start, then don't do it.
Pick a question, sir.
So, question 1, can you give me a camera? No, I'm just kidding. Would you rather get an opportunity to film in outer space or film underwater in, say, a submarine or something?
I think those are two environments where both would scare me. A submarine would be less scary because I feel space is very unpredictable. So I would probably pick the submarine, but if it's like deep, 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 that's scary.
Let's talk about it in a technical sense.
If I was guaranteed 100% to come back without any injuries or any risk of anything, getting a shot from space would be pretty sick. That wasn't a question. Did you just make that one up?
I just made it up. I think from underwater, it'd be very challenging. You're working potentially with reflections, movement. It'd be very technically difficult to do, and the payoff I don't think would be quite there necessarily.
So here's a caveat. Space, I feel like there's less photo opportunities. Like, you're gonna take a photo of the Earth. Assuming you're not like doing a spacewalk where you're taking photos of other people in space.
Which would be cool.
Whereas under the sea, I feel like you could see so many unique sea creatures. Like, imagine you get a dive down to the Titanic. Mind you, some of these places you can't actually dive down to because they are so deep, but potentially more photo opportunities if you go down to the sea. But let me know down in the comments below which one you would choose.
And I will say, there's a lot of Nat Geo art and photography shows.
Yeah.
And you see some really interesting underwater...
Like sharks, whales, all that
like
type of cool stuff.
Sea turtle stuff that people
Yeah.
do. And so like, it doesn't have to be like depth and shady. I think you could be in a tropical location and get some really interesting...
Would you shoot a Hasselblad in space?
Or what would you use?
We use the Hasselblad.
You'd have to, right? Did you know that it was the first camera in space?
I mean, we can link the YouTube short up
There's
here.
a short?
There's a YouTube short on my channel about it? Who knew?
How many cameras do you currently own? I'll see if I can name them all, but the R6, the R6 II, the R5, the R5 II, the R8, Lumix S5 IIX, Lumix S9, although those are loaners, they don't actually belong to me, Hasselblad X2D, 907X, forgetting a camera. I know I'm forgetting a camera. I don't own any Fujifilm cameras. Well, I have my original T1i. So we'll say 10 cameras minus 2 more new ones that might be coming next week that you know nothing about. Are you a Canon ambassador? No, I actually told them I didn't want to be because if I was, I wouldn't be able to test a lot of the other cameras like the Hasselblad cameras or the Fujifilm cameras. Canon doesn't make a medium format camera. So if I was a Canon ambassador, I wouldn't be able to test medium format cameras. Do you have a favorite lens? So all of my cameras, all of my lenses are linked down in the description. The one that I'm filming on now is probably my favorite, which is the 15-35. But regardless of which camera or which lens that you own, if you are someone who's doing photography, probably any camera made within the last 10 years is a good option for shooting photos with. I'd say the last 5 years with like mirrorless technology is gonna be one step up. If you're shooting videos, you might need to be a little bit more picky if you need like high frame rates. Not every camera offers it. But if you're just shooting photos and you're just bringing them into Lightroom and editing them, you know, in my case, I'll do a photo edit with my Lightroom presets, my Division 2 presets, which I mentioned earlier. But if you don't already own any presets or you've been thinking about picking up mine, you can find them linked down in the description below. It's what I edit all of my photos with, and I am a huge believer in them, so much so that that's what we're gonna be giving away for this video. I'm gonna be giving away 10 of my Division 1 plus Division 2, so all of my presets. That's like a $70+ value. So 10 lucky people will win my full set of presets, my Division 1 and my Division 2, and one lucky person will win a mentorship call. So I used to offer these, I don't offer them anymore. I might start offering them again, but it will be a 45-minute call if you want me to review your portfolio or your content, whatever it is, ideally focused on photography. Recently I did a live stream where I kind of did like a critique of photos. So we'll do that, except it'll be customized to you. But keep watching to learn how and where you need to enter. And let's get back to the Q&A.
If there was anyone out there that you could collaborate with, whether it's a content creator or let's really go outside of content creation, who do you think would be the most interesting person or group or company that would be just so much fun for you to collaborate with?
I feel like most of the other YouTube photography content creators I've met or shot with, or at least
You're gonna have to...
oh no, that's staying in the video. We're downtown. It's helicopters going to the island.
Get to the chopper!
Yeah, I would pick any team from the NBA.
Any NBA team?
Maybe OKC?
Yes, an NBA team. Probably the Toronto Raptors. And Steve Nash hit me up. Or F1.
I think F1. I think Ferrari would be a dream one for me. McLaren does a lot of really cool stuff. I'd love to tour their headquarters, do some content around there. Red Bull. Honestly, any of the F1 teams. Let's not hate on,
any
you know.
F1 teams, hit me up.
Lando Norris, what are you up to?
If you're an F1 photographer,
Manchester United. Hit me up.
Have you ever seen drift car footage?
that could be fun.
They do some...
Doing some track stuff.
There's some really cool drift car stuff, and that's a series I never did.
F1, 100%.
How do brands send you free gear? So there's a little bit of a catch to this because they don't exactly send free gear. You know, I'll get 10 to 20 emails a day from brands who want to say, hey, we'll send you this piece of accessory, this whatever. And a lot of it is just like things I don't care about and things that aren't very valuable that I don't really feel like you'd be interested in. But some of them are things that you'd be interested in. And so I have to go back to those brands and say, hey, look, you can send it. Do you have a budget? Like, do you want to make a video? And I probably shouldn't be saying this, but in a lot of cases, brands do not have budgets to make videos with you, which might be disappointing if you're someone who is thinking about getting into this space. Like, yes, getting free gear is good and fine and okay, but if it's taking away, like making a video for like a free camera strap or like a free lens filter that you got, if that's taking away from other valuable videos, like, you know, how to shoot wildlife or how to capture portraits or how to light whatever, that video is way more valuable than me like shilling out because someone sent me a $100 lens filter. But there are times when a brand approaches and they don't have a budget, and I actually have a template that I'll send them that's like a form that you can actually, it's also on my website if you're interested in picking it up, but I call it my brand gear release form. And so I tell the brand, hey, sign this just to acknowledge that it is a free product and you don't expect anything in return. And if I don't make anything, I'll like send the product back. I have a whole video on this, and if you're interested because you're also a content creator, I'll link it, I don't know, somewhere that you can also check it out. So a lot of you ask questions about how do I get into the space? What is it like being a full-time creator? And again, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I've met like 90% of the other creators who are in this like photo, video, filmmaking space. We talk to each other, we share information, we talk about the, you know, the brands that are maybe not good to work with and the brands that are good to work with. And I know for a fact brands do this as well, which is the advantage that you have being at, you know, 100,000 subscribers or 500,000 subscribers, because people then start to take you seriously where you can have those conversations with the other creators in this space. The funniest comments that I get are ones from like someone who's just seeing my channel for the first time, who's like, oh, like, you don't know what you're talking about. This other creator actually knows what they're talking about. And then I'll go like, I'm friends with that creator. Like you're bashing, you know, me or another creator in favor of another creator. It's just like, just understand that everyone in this space knows each other. And this space is very different than it used to be 6 or 7 years ago when there was a lot fewer people doing this, because it meant, you know, brand deals were more abundant, and maybe they're not as abundant now, especially with like short form content kind of like taking a lot of the attention away. And the fact that technology is to blame. The cameras have gotten so good that you can almost buy any camera, and any camera shoots in like 4K, HD, whatever, with the latest log video profiles, with the latest like every camera is so good that you and I kind of have gear fatigue. That when something new comes out, if it's not like the best Sony A1 Mark a million with so many megapixels and whatever, it's like if it's not so incredibly better, like the comments become so negative so fast. Like with the new Fuji X-E5 that came out, people were so upset that the price was high. Mind you, there are other reasons that the price is high, or like the new FX2. Meanwhile, I know people who are super excited and have bought that camera because it works for their workflow. But the space is always evolving. I need to evolve. I think we as an audience, you know, you and I watching other people's videos also need to evolve. But how to evolve and how to change and the future of this channel, that's all still to be determined. But if there's a question that I didn't answer, let me know down in the comments, because I'm gonna be actively responding to as many of those as I can. And if you're still wondering about that giveaway, the link will be at the bottom of the description. So you'll have to scroll down a little bit to find it, and you'll need that information that I shared earlier. So if you missed it, make sure you go back to find it. And once you've done that, you can check out either of these videos here if you want to learn more about me or about my path to becoming a YouTube content creator. And of course, as always, grab your camera, get out, and go shoot photos.